Hello, and welcome to the Benefits and Entitlement webinar, an overview of Medicaid recertification and renewal. Here to present for us today is our very own Assistant Director of Eligibility, Joseph Lack. Joe, the floor is yours.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the presentation where we're going to be discussing Medicaid recertifications and renewals. I know this is something you may have done in the past or may not have done depending on when you got your Medicaid. So I'm going to be here to help guide you through that process and give you some overviews on what we're going to be dealing with. Now we have one topic here today, which is the Medicaid recertification and renewals. Next slide, please. Okay, Medicaid renewals and recertifications. So people who don't receive SSI, which are non-SSI Medicaid cases, must be renewed annually to maintain their coverage. What that means is the recertification packets are generated by the end of the 9th month of your case's authorization so that you can recertify the person's Medicaid for the next year. An example of this authorization would be you apply for Medicaid in January and you get approved through December of 2022. That renewal generated at the end of September would then need to be submitted back to Medicaid. And that due date for your recertification is in bold and it's on the first page of the recertification packet. Next slide, please. All right, Medicaid renewals and recertifications continued. So recertification packets review all of the information provided at your last renewal. So if there's any changes to that information, you will make those changes on the packet. You'll also send proof of any of the items that have changed since the previous year. And once the packet is submitted, it is reviewed by that Medicaid office. Once Medicaid reviews it, they'll send you a notice of decision that should arrive to your address on file by the end of the following month. Now, if you don't receive a notice, which may happen, sometimes Medicaid loses things or notices don't necessarily get sent out, please reach out to your care manager. They can assist you and your family with contacting the assigned caseworker or contacting the local Medicaid office. Worst comes to worst, just always reach out to your care manager and they'll help you get in touch with Medicaid and contact Medicaid. Additionally, always make copies of everything you're recertifying and everything you submit to Medicaid. As I said, Medicaid may lose things that you submit to them, so please just make copies of it in case we need to resubmit again or there's any issues with that recertification process. Next slide, please. All right, so recertifications, the Medicaid renewal recertification. Your Medicaid is active, so you're going to recertify your Medicaid. So what documents do you need to submit to Medicaid to do this? So if you're under 18 years old, you're going to submit that recertification, the Medicaid renewal. You're going to submit that with the notice of decision for OPWDD services. You're going to get a HIPAA form signed, and then that's going to be given to the care manager so that they can speak on behalf of your case. You're going to have the Social Security award letter if the child receives that Social Security benefits. Any child support decrees, if parents are divorced and child support is received, resources such as bank accounts and supplemental needs trusts, if applicable to your case. And then if you reside in New York City, we also like to submit what's called the MAP 649K, which is just a transmittal which has the information for what you're submitting to Medicaid. Just a standard transmittal form specifically for New York City cases. Next slide, please. Recertifications for people who are over 18 are similar to the recertifications for people who are under 18, and the documents are listed here that we need to submit. So what we have is the Medicaid renewal / recertification. You have the notice of decision for OPWDD services that you submit. We're going to get a HIPAA form signed so the care manager can speak on behalf with the Medicaid office for your case. If the person's employed, you're going to submit 1 month of pay stubs. They receive Social Security, you're going to submit that Social Security award letter. If they have any resources such as bank accounts, special needs trusts, 401ks, burial funds, etc., that also needs to be submitted. And then once again, if this is for New York City specifically, you're going to put that all on the Medicaid transmittal form, the MAP 649K. Next slide, please. Recertification preparation. It's the care manager's responsibility to determine which party will be taking primary responsibility in completing the recertification. So if you're a family who likes to submit your recertifications, that's definitely possible. You just want to communicate with your care manager to let them know that you'll be doing that. The care managers are here to discuss that with you and help you make sure you get your recertifications submitted properly. So there's a couple things you want to make sure you keep in mind during this process. If you or your natural support will be receiving the recertification directly, please inform your care manager. That's right, please inform them, give them a call, let them know that you received that Medicaid in the mail, and let them know that you have that packet. You also want to let your care manager know if you need any support with getting this completed, submitted, or anything regarding your Medicaid recertification. It's important to realize that these Medicaid recertifications are time sensitive and must be completed and submitted within a timely manner to ensure there's no lapse in coverage. The due date is printed in bold on the first page of the recertification packet, and it's important to make sure that you actually submit the packet before that date. A notice of decision, also known as approval, is usually issued by the 30th of the following month. Next slide, please. Recertification preparation. If a residential agency is the authorized representative, the care manager will identify the agency contact who will be responsible for completing the recertification. The care manager will work collaboratively with the agency in order to complete the recertification paperwork and gather the necessary proofs, which would be any burial funds, special needs trust information, or any of the other documents we talked about before in what's needed for a recertification. They will notify you once it has been completed and submitted to Medicaid for review. Next slide. All right, recertification preparation, living arrangement. It's important to verify that Medicaid has the correct address on file for where you currently reside. A lot of people have moved during the pandemic, so we want to make sure that Medicaid has the correct information on file. The correct number of household members that live in your household, to verify the total amount of rent and share of that rent that is paid. And if you pay for water separately, that's important to also note as well. And then we have some proofs of income. So it's make sure to keep your 2023 award letter for Social Security, if applicable, when received by mail. It's super important to make sure that you keep a hold of anything you receive from Medicaid or Social Security. And this award letter for 2023 is very crucial to keep on file and to have on hand. Make sure you keep all recent pay stubs and proof of any other sources of income. And it's important if you became entitled to disabled adult child DAC benefits off your parents through Social Security since the last renewal, you want to obtain that letter from Social Security verifying that DAC status. Now, this is only necessary if you transition off of SSI and onto DAC so that you can be approved for that correct DAC budgeting. Next slide, please. We also have proof of resources, so keep recent bank statements and or proof of any other resources. And we'll need the type, the value, and the owner and company name for any of those resources. And insurance, if there's any change to the insurances from the last renewal, you want to submit that with a copy of the insurance card. Next slide, please. This slide here indicates satisfactory immigration and citizenship documents if there's been any change since the last renewal. So that would be your U.S. birth certificate, naturalization certificate for new U.S. citizens, permanent residential card, also known as the green card, employment authorization card, and the I-94 for refugees. Next slide, please. Thank you, everyone, for taking part in the renewals, recertifications for Medicaid preparation.